So your wife can. Okay. Do you wear like belts? No.
Good question. Better answer.
The same as me.
Should I pass the clicker so that you can move?
Yes.
Sure. You should be able now to move.
Okay. Okay. Hello, guys. Good morning. So let's start. So welcome to CCAMP. Okay. Let's start from the loadware. I think we all of us, are familiar with this loadware IETF policies. Otherwise, please have a look at this documents mentioned in this page. So, as we know, this session is being recorded, and for the in-person participants, please make sure to sign into the session using the MidEcho tools, and then use the MidEcho to join the mic queue. And also, please keep the audio and the video off if you are not going to speak. And for the remote participants, please make sure your audio and the video are off, unless you are speaking. And the use of a headset is strongly recommended. And then this administrative information, and there's links for the MidEcho. And I think we know how to use the online tool and how to press the buttons. And for the minute takers, and there's a button on the top of the MidEcho, and you can click, and then it goes into the minute taking. And if anyone can help, taking the minutes, that would be much appreciated. So we just talk about why we are in the AI era, why we still need the minute takers, why we cannot just use the transcription be saved at the minute, right? So for the blue sheets, so last thing for us to do, it will be automatically generated. This is very good. And for the reminder IPR process, so prior to moving to the next step in working group documents, for example, before individual draft becomes a working group document, or a working group document goes to last call, the chairs will send out IPR polling, and it requires authors and contributors to reply the polling as soon as possible. Otherwise, it may delay your draft to move forward. So this is a session. This time we have only one session with 2 hours. So there's agenda. So this time we have 2 hours. So I think we should have enough time for discussion. And there's some typo. And we have.
No, it's not a typo. We changed the agenda after it was published. We anticipated the microwave presentation to the third slot. We did some agenda bashing to meet traveling constraints.
Okay, good. So this time we have 3 individual jobs, right? Okay.
So I will cover briefly the status of the working group. So basically, well, we are documenting regularly in the wiki all the status, the evolution of the different drafts. So you can see here the 2 prioritization queues that we are handling, one for working group adoption and the other one for progress in the documents already adopted. So we are always marking priorities, 3 priorities. So in both columns, you can see the priorities that we have identified so far. So for adoption, we have the draft June CCAMP PM streaming. This working group adoption, the the working group adoption of this draft was stopped after discussions with IPPM. And basically, the resolution of this was to split the document between IPPM and CCAMP. And even this week was presented in IPPM, part of the work, so that this somehow is progressing in parallel. Also, as priority one, we have the CCAMP FGOTN Jan document. This has been just adopted. So we move to the other column in some point in time. Then we have the CCAMP RFC 8561 that is the microwave radio link that I guess Jonas will present, right? And then the CCAMP client PM Jan. Also, we need to check how to do this together with IPPM and see how we can progress either here or there. Regarding the documents already adopted, we have the CCAMP Flexible Grid Jan. The second working group last call was already completed, so has been requested the publication of this draft. We will report next. Then the WDM interface parameter Jan. Basically, we have passed the reviews of the directories on routing operations, and also the Young Doctor is ready for working group last call. And we have here a note for checking potential dependencies with the work on pluggables. The TSB signaling draft. So there are some reviews done are pending to be fixed. And this, I think, September is the date for that we expect for being covered, all those comments that received. And finally, as the fourth priority, a clustering of two drafts, the OTN tunnel model and the OTN path computation Jan model, where basically, we have also received the reviews from the directorate and the Young Doctor review. So for the rest of the documents, there were no recent RFCs. In the editor queue, we have 5 documents that have some dependency. There's some misref, depending on this, if I'm not wrong. And as said, we have requested the publication of the FlexiGrid Young document. In the agenda, we have 2 of the doctor's drafts, the DWDM interface parameter and the WDM tunnel Young. And for the rest of the documents, please go through the wiki and you can see the latest status. We encourage to have, let's say, a spontaneous update of the status is always helpful. But by the way, we will try to regularly update the status so that all of us can handle fresh information registered in the wiki. Regarding liaison statements, we were working on a liaison relationship with OEF. This basically was already done, and Italo Busi has been nominated as the liaison manager. So now Italo will be the bridge between IETF and OEF. And then we have 3 other liaison statements related to CCAMP. All of them, I think, are coming from the ITUT. You're not wrong? Yes. No, sorry. 2 of them from the ITUT, another one from Broadband Forum. The first one is the one that was requiring some action together with TIS and DENNET, and it's about informing the latest work on the area of IMT 2020, IMT 2030 to ITUT. We already passed the date, so we will try to see how we can basically maybe recover, or we will discuss maybe with DENNET and TIS on how to progress it, if it makes sense. Then we have 2 informative liaisons, one from the Broadband Forum and another one from ITUT about signaling and protocol considerations on networking for AAA and collaboration. So as I said, are informative, so if someone from the working group has any input on that, will be well received. And that's all from our side. So let's start. Well, I'm not sure if there are any comments. Yes, Dan, please.
Yeah, so just a quick thing about the liaison thing. That's what I was just cross-checking with Daniele. There is a liaison which is going to go out towards ITUT for the PM work, which you just described.
Correct.
And I was just cross-checking this morning. So that's mainly coming from the IPPM group.
Yep.
But CCAMP is also on it.
Is it? Yeah. Okay. Thank you for the reminder. Yeah. Any comment from the working group? No, otherwise, we will start then with the meeting. So.
Okay. Good morning. I'm Roberto Manzotti, presenting this draft in behalf of all the co-authors. This is a data model for the management of DWDM interface. Which one? Okay. Yeah, this slide is there since a few IETF meeting. We are keeping it as a reference just to show also the status update of the other related models. So the other two main model that are now connected to this one are get to the RFC editor queue. All the other are already RFC, and we have two drafts that are this one and flexible grid topology that is actually DWDM tunnel that are still work in progress at the moment. For this slide, let's focus on the what is new for this new update. So from the issue tracking, we closed the last two issue that we had open, and we are having one minor issue from the RTGDIR follow-up comments that we are tracking now for closure. So which are the main document change that we apply since last revision? For the young model, I think for sure the last update has been the alignment with the work on the pluggable gap analysis, and we decided in conjunction with the team there, and thanks to them, to add all the attributes that were coming as state, so as operational parameter, to the DWDM interface. So in order to fill at least the gap that was highlighted in that work for what concern the operational state of the interface. We also realigned the model to the network management data store architecture. In a past revision, we were splitting the configuration and operational data into different branches in a way similar to what OpenConfig does. But actually, after discussion with the wider team, we followed the approach of IETF to have one single parameter for operational and configuration and manage the related value using the data store architecture. And then we have some other minor fix and cleanup on the model. For what concerns the document, the main change are the fix for the RTGDIR comments, the last two issue open. So we updated one appendix with actually we added a new appendix with a description of how the module should be used and which is the main concept and how it's structured. And we updated what before was Appendix C and now Appendix D with a complete JSON example. Before there was just a very tree that was providing an example of application. We now have a complete JSON example of the use of the model. We just want to flash what is changed right now in the model tree. So this is the initial part where there are just few changes. One attribute has moved from read-only to read-write, that is the line coding bitrate. And we had added the receive total power and also another FEC counter for the uncorrectable blocks paired with the uncorrected words. And while the large change is in the last section of the DWDM interface, where we added a lot of new attributes that were coming from the gap analysis work for the pluggable optical interface management. I invite, so all of these value has its own specific reference to standard ITOT, IETF, OIF, whatever, but so I invited a review of the model so that we make sure that all the references are perfectly aligned. And what are the next steps? We are actually have to address this last minor comment from the follow-up. That is basically a review of the deferred value in the model. Actually, we already started this, and we feel that it's good to have a default value defined also for the read-only data. So just to give to the implementer an idea of what could be the default value for that part of the tree. And the other minor is the update of the reference to 84.7 bis that now is becoming RFC. And then we think that we should be ready for the request of the last call. And if there are any questions, mostly I think what can be interesting to look at is and to discuss is all the new parameter that has been added, that is the bulk change.
So I think we already did the routing dir review, 2 young doctor reviews and 1 ops dir review. And most of them are pretty recent. So do you think that the new changes to the model would benefit from another young doctor review? I mean, the pool of young doctors is pretty reduced, so we have a limited amount of tokens to play. If you think that there are significant changes, we can ask for a third review.
Also, there are significant changes in the number of attributes, but not in the model structure, not. So basically, the way the model is structured is the same that we had after the correction and the acknowledge of the change that we had with the last young doctor.
Okay,
so
perfect.
In theory, I do not expect any.
So we will wait for a new revision fixing the last updates coming from the last comments from the routing the review.
We will do probably just after
and after that we can do the final reviews and start the last call process.
Okay.
There is one note that we took when we were working on preparing the admin slides, which is the impact of the pluggable work on this draft. Do you think that
I
that
ask
can consider...
to all the people that are working on it? I think from the last activity that we have done, including all the operational state parameter, now we should have integrated all the work of the pluggable team. There is still an open gap, big open gap from the pluggable activity that are the capability and update. But unfortunately, that is not in our model. We are importing this from the 1993 bis. So the update of the capability will require, and we all agree that it's good to have it in a single place so that every other model can import it, and will require probably an update of the 1993 bis with the ETER or hopefully with the Veloce.
Exactly.
With the Veloce process. That is what we are trying to focus on. Probably will be shared by Reza later.
Good idea. I don't know what's... so I've seen the requirements for Veloce, but not yet all the procedures. So I don't know if this time it makes quicker to go for ETER or to wait for Veloce, but in any case...
Depends on when 1993 bis will close the RFGQ.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Oscar has a question.
Oh, sorry.
Yes, can you go back to the slide with the first one? I think with the relationship between the models.
Okay, the first one.
Yes, this one. Right now, this model it is intended only to be after the IETF interface, but it will have relationship with the topology, right?
Yes.
And question for you and Daniele is: at some point, do you want also to make the relationship with Ivy, or not? Or it is because in Ivy you define the inventory of the
ports
of the boards and transceivers, even pluggables at some point, but also transceivers. So some of the attributes that you are defined here, someone could have them also there, not only for here is for configuration, but also for inventory purposes. So that line, do you consider it at some point? And if there was such a line, do you think it would impact the model as it is, or as you have a collection of identities and leaves, it can be, let's say, reduced easily?
Tell you my view, then Daniele will blood, whatever. So the EF param is mainly a model for network element management. So it's controller to device, it's not a controller to controller. Nothing block it to be used also between controller, but that is the way it is designed.
Okay, so now it's between controller and device, the main scope, not.
Yes, the main scope. Say that I think that for every interface, in theory, in the impairment topology or in the TE topology, there should be a related termination point. I see that the topology relation that is going to be present, so the IV topology draft that is already mapping IV to the topology should also get inherited also the connection to the interface. That is my impression.
Okay, so you think with that should be enough, and there should not be no need to do a direct relationship between the other for just. Okay.
What do you think?
Yeah, I agree.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I think now it's turn for Iowa.
Yeah, so this is for an update on the Yang data model for WDM tunnel. Okay, so this draft is pretty stable, but we are still having some open issues and primarily focusing on the analysis of WDM tunnel going through a 3R regenerator. So there are different types of 3R regens and how it affects the modeling of a tunnel, whether it's end-to-end or it's brought into different segments, and there are also different types of 3R regenerations at different layers, with different technologies. So for this update, we only did very editorial model and text updates, but the main thing is progressing is we are still discussing and make alignments on different 3R scenarios. So the current status is the review is almost done, but we still have cases that needs to be finalized, and the main work that we have done is to focus on the main case and eliminate some edge cases and proprietary use cases from the consideration. So here it's just a summary of the covered WDM scenarios. We are looking at the end-to-end WDM tunnel provisioning with both transponders and muxponders because they present different characteristics in terms of the use of the tunnel, and they are also looking into different kind of client payloads. And different client-side and line-side run line rate of the transponders, and multiplexing, and also considering the OTSI inverse multiplexing, and the way how signal is digitally mapped from the client to the line side, and whether regen is used or not in an end-to-end WDM tunnel. Also, there are different regen scenarios. Some of them are standards defined, like by ITUT, by different MSAs, but there are also vendor-specific or proprietary scenarios, which was as well as forum-defined cases like OIF. So for those defined by the MSA or proprietary or by other forums, those scenarios are also analyzed along with the other scenario, just to evaluate whether the model is flexible enough to support, but the actual support for these non-standard scenarios, basically we considered it as it can be augmented by the current from the current model. So there's an open issue 75. There's a detailed analysis of the scenarios currently in progress. So as you see, like this is just to show like what we have done in terms of analyzing the scenarios, from the simple one, such as Ethernet, 100 Ethernet over single OTSI, and also ODU4 tunnel segments over a single OTSI. Those are done, and there's the third scenario about OTU4 and ODU4 service over a single OTSI, and it's coming from the OTU switch or IP router coming to the optical end as a gray wavelength. So for this scenario, we have considered two options. One is to create basically to establish an end-to-end OTU4 link between the OTN switches, and they are being supported by a combination of gray client-side links plus the client signal established between the two WDM nodes, or as an option 2, the OTU4 link is supported by an end-to-end WDM tunnel, and with the WDM with the connection in between the two transponder as WDM tunnel segments. This is still under evaluation, and we need to make a decision on how this can be supported. And we still yet need to support to do the analysis for OTN OTSI service as in the scenario 4. We also did analysis on the 400G Ethernet service of a single or multiple OTSI, and how they are regioned in the middle, So what we are to see is whether we need to develop the definitions for that defines the regeneration layers that and also defines the definition of digital termination, and also the sequence of the digital termination, as well as the definition for inverse multiplexing types. So those are the gaps that we have identified that needs to be developed in the Young model, and also depending on the analysis, which determines how many types that needs to be defined. So the next steps is obviously to complete the review of all the scenarios, and then also update the text as well as the Young models. Also there are previous routing director reviews and Young doctor reviews that has still remained open, that needs to be looked through. And also, since we are working on the pluggable analysis, this may also come into this draft as gaps that can be covered. We have weekly discussions on Thursday, 9 a.m. So you're more than welcome to join it to help complete the analysis and develop the Young model. And that's it. Thank you. Any questions or comments? Okay.
Yes. No questions. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Aya.
So now is Jonas.
Hi, everybody. I'm Jonas Ahlberg. I'm the one to blame for the change in the agenda, but I appreciate that. Thanks a lot. I'm here to present the status of a draft we are working on within the microwave team. And I'm doing this presentation on behalf of all the participants in the microwave team, and especially on behalf of Scott, who has created all these slides. So thank you. Starting with a bit of a background, we are talking about a young data model, a device model for microwave radio link, and we are working on an individual draft right now with the intention to create a BIS of an existing RFC 8561. And we are doing the work using a GitHub, which you can see the link to. And we've had 11 meetings since the last IETF 125 meeting. And we meet every Thursday between 5 and 6 a.m. US Eastern Time. And if you're interested in the minutes, there's a minutes page on the GitHub. So, what has happened? We have refreshed the draft, and a call for IPR is underway, or it's perhaps even completed. But the next step we are hoping for is, and it was listed on the list of priorities here as well, for a working group adoption call. The version we have on the data tracker is a 00 version of a draft with a new name, and we changed the name and included CCAMP in the name just to indicate that we believe that it belongs to this working group, even though it's not yet been adopted. And we have done minor changes to refresh the draft while we are having discussions on our weekly meetings and using the GitHub. I see that there are questions.
Just a clarification, Jonas, about the IPR call. There is one author that is not answering. We can basically the email address is not any longer valid, so we need to figure out what to do with that. Just to clarify that point.
Okay.
So we are missing just one answer, but we are not able to either reach. This was a co-author for an NEC. There were two co-authors for one. It's a contributor. The co-author is Sealy. She already answered, but one of the contributors is not. We basically cannot reach him, so we will need to figure out what to do with that. For clarification.
Okay. Yeah. We have done. We have worked on this draft for quite a long time now, but we believe that we will be able to conclude this in a fairly reasonable time going forward. And the reason for that is that we now have an agreed list of open issues that we intend to resolve. And we have resolutions, preliminary resolutions on most of them. So hopefully we will be able to get to a conclusion fairly soon here. And I'm going to walk you through some or the open issues that we are working on right now. The first one is about a mode of the radio link, which has been a configurable attribute. And we've updated that in the draft that is on the data tracker right now to make it more flexible and allow for more variants to be configured. But then we realized that this attribute is actually impacting the same aspects of the microwave link as other attributes are used for configuration. And that means that in order to avoid a conflict here, that we configure this in one way and the other attributes which actually is doing the configuration of the radio link in another way, we decided to use this attribute as a read-only attribute going forward, because it still has a value since it represents some kind of a high-level description of the configuration of the radio link. Space diversity is a function to increase the signal quality by combining multiple carriers in a radio link terminal. And there we have a proposal. And we are just reviewing that to make sure that this proposal is in line with how this is done in a standardized way and not only representing a model for one specific vendor implementation. But I believe that it's a standardized way. The third one is about request to introduce a new loopback function. And there we agree that it's probably needed, but the question is if it really belongs in the microwave domain, or if it's perhaps rather something that we should introduce in the Ethernet space. The fourth one on this slide is about cross-polarization interference cancellation. And we support that already in the model today, but this is about allowing or extending this function to do cross-polarization over multiple nodes. And there we have a fairly straightforward proposal, which I think we can agree upon fairly soon. Then air interface receiver is about being able to disable and enable the receiver functionality. And there we have a proposal, and we also have a pull request for that. And we're only looking for more vendor input to make sure that this function, as modeled in this proposal, is supporting the use cases that we believe would be requiring this type of function. The next one, air interface maintenance timer, is has been on hold for some time, waiting for the conclusion of the RFC 9922, which is about scheduling of functionality. And now when that is ready, we believe that we can create a contribution fairly soon. The next one is a bit interesting, I think. It's an existing function we model in RFC 8561 today, but we have realized that modeling might not be in line with how the ETSI specification standardizing the microwave technology as such is describing that function. So we might need to change that in order to better align with the sort of technology standardization or the description of that function. It might have a bit of impact on other aspects as well, but we believe that it's important that we are not modeling things which might be a common way of doing it among vendors, but which is not in line with how standardization is done in other parts. And the last one is about band and carrier aggregation. It's a functionality to combine carriers in different ways in order to increase the capacity of the radio link, to increase the quality of the signal, etc. And there we have worked through a number of alternatives, and right now we have one alternative on the table that requires a review and agreement upon. So all in all, we have a number of open issues to close, but we believe that we are in a good position to do that fairly soon. And then, as always, we have editorials and guideline checking that needs to be done on top of that. We have closed some issues since last IETF meeting, and the first one is about a request to increase the ranges, the value ranges for two attributes: signal noise interference ratio and cross-polarization interference. And there the request was to include also negative values, but that was rejected since microwave experts clearly stated that that's not really applicable to support those type of negative values. And the other one was a question raised about a new entity in the model, which is ACM profile list. And the question there was if it's reasonable to include a list that might require thousands and thousands of entries in order to fully describe the capability of the node, which was or is the purpose of that profile list. And the resolution there was that it might be a problem, but on the other hand, this attribute is not, or this list is not mandatory, and therefore we can move forward as proposed. Okay, so in summary, if you're interested in microwave, please join the discussion on the GitHub and on our weekly meetings. And watch out for the working group adoption call once we have sorted out this with the final IPR person. And thank you all from all of us editors and contributors. Thanks.
Thank you.
No questions, no comments? Okay. So yeah, we will figure out what to do with this contributor that is missing. We cannot reach out. Probably we need to maybe move him to
Yeah.
To the acknowledgement,
Yeah.
yeah.
Can you repeat the name or?
I don't remember.
Okay, but can you send me
Yes,
the name and then I can help?
I was checking with she because it's both were from NEC. She
Okay. Oh, she
seems
can't.
that is any longer working for NEC. So we don't have a way of contacting him. So
okay, and then I'm probably
Given
not in a
that
position
we
to help.
are even before the adoption stages. I think we can remove him to the acknowledgement list and move forward. I don't think it's a big problem.
Moving from contributor to the acknowledgement, if you wish.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. So then I think it's Reza, next one.
Thank you. Good morning. My name is Reza Rokoui Siena. On behalf of co-authors, I will go through a few slides to show the status of the pluggable draft. The short summary of the draft is outlined here. We have weekly meeting for the draft. We had 3 constructive meetings this week as well to go through the rest of the attribute that we have to address. In summary, there are attributes in the area of the capabilities, configurations, and stats that we went through various SDOs to bring those together. As Roberto mentioned at the beginning of today's meeting, we identified gaps in the area of the stats and config. It's already added to the draft. The rest of work that we have to do, as outlined at the very end of this the page, is about capabilities. So this is a short summary of where we are. Statistics and config, we feel that we are almost done. Having said that, this is ongoing activity as well. If you feel that there is something should be added, we have a Google Sheet. We discussed that a few times. I don't want to repeat whatever was discussed before. More than welcome to provide your comments. So for the rest of presentation, I just go through the config, stats, and capability. I give you more context where we are. So, but that is basically the short summary of what happens. As mentioned before, about statistic as config attributes, these are basically the gaps that we found that related to coherent pluggables. And in most cases, or actually all of them, are not only pluggable attributes that are applicable to other entities as well, but in the context of the pluggable, we identify gaps on a statistic config. They are already added to the model WDM interface. And I will update the draft. Right now, the draft itself, it's in version 3. I will add whatever I just discussed. We didn't have time to go through it and finish it. The next version of the draft will include, what happened in the area of the size and configuration. What is outstanding, and this is something I mentioned, we had a very 3 constructive meeting this week. We went through the capability attributes. These are the read-only attributes, which are basically characterizing the capability of a pluggable. We find the gaps. We went going through the Google Sheet, which outlines everything that we found, and we covering whether or not they have to be added to the model. And the most important aspect that I put here is for those capabilities, where we have to add them, and clearly mention here that we decided that collectively we have to have one place to address all these attributes, and that place is 1993 bis. That is something that we discussed. Right now, at this time, we are doing two things in parallel. One is covering one more time the capability, going through that, scrutinizing it to make sure we capture everything correctly. In the meantime, we want to add that one to 1993 bis. We will put that one in the private GitHub, and we do that one in parallel. By the time that there was a discussion about the new velocity way of introducing B is at IETF, which is a very lightweight. So by the time that that discussion is finished, we are also done with the attribute, and we can basically provide our last part of the coherent pluggable work in this context. So having said that, if I summarize where we are and what the next steps are, we are watching the velocity initiative to see where it's going. We are working on the capability attributes. We are finishing that. We are incorporating that one into 1993 bis as a private in our GitHub. And by the time that velocity is there, our model is there as well. And basically that, as stated at the very end of this page, this will be the last portion of the pluggable work that we do. There are some other things that we can extend on top of this, that is extra works. But the context of this work is basically these capability attributes, and hopefully next few months we can, if the velocity is there, we have the model, and we can provide the last portion of the coherent pluggable that we have started, a while ago. With that, it concludes the discussion. If there is any question, please. Thank you.
That was fast.
So, okay. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Reza. So next is Shunsuke.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Shunsuke from NTT. This draft is a YAN data model for a seamless access control, and I present the update of this draft on the behalf of the co-authors. It is now the revision 03, and we have a new co-author, Reza Lokui from Siena. Welcome, Reza. Here is the agenda of this presentation. Today, I will cover 4 points. First, a recap of this draft. Second, update since the previous version 01. Third, reply to feedback raised in the last meeting, IETF 134. And finally, next steps. So let me start with a short recap of this draft. First is the motivation. So coherent programmable module have some attributes and features that abstracted model cannot cover. So there are two types. First is one is opaque attribute, such as custom pages, feature, the vendor specific field. The other is a function which module is capable of, but network OS does not support yet. Sorry. This proposal provides the capability to use such features which are not supported by the abstracted model. And this module structure shown in right side mirrors the CMIS memory maps, CMIS memory structure. So page number and bank identify the CMIS memory map. And data to write or read or write is defined with offset, size, and data value. This YANG is assumed to be augmented to IETF interfaces, and it attached to the interface where the module is plugged in. The access goes over the standard netconf or restconf schema, and the netconf restconf server on the host network OS will be the entry point. Okay, so we have two use cases of this model. First is the centralized control of pluggable DCO modules. Today, module for layer 0, layer 1 private network services. Today, we can use new optical features only after the network OS supported. It has some limitation on the combination of the network OS and programmable modules. So, and this model enables controller to handle the features which is not supported by network OS yet from the optical controller, and it may relax the combination constraints between network OS and the programmable module. It will helpful because operator can select the module more flexibly, and the router vendor does not need to support the new optical features right away. The second use case is custom pages. So there are several features using custom pages. For example, high accuracy optical matrix measurement, such as measurement of the optical characteristics or non-second order delay transport delay measurement, like the right side figure. Okay, so this slide shows the update from the previous version 01 to the 0203. As I mentioned at the first, at the beginning of the presentation, Reza joined our author team, and it will help coordination with pluggable modeling work. And second, we added the page level access governance. In other words, we defined the default policy and arrow list in the YANG structure. So the operator explicitly delegate only selected pages to the remote controller, and action RPC to write to the out of policy pages will be rejected. So it will be the safeguard for preventing the unexpected operation from the outside controller. Thirdly, we added the CMIS page classification by function. So it will be the basis for deciding what pages can be delegated to the external controller. And fourthly, we improved the use case section. For example, we added the OpenXR P2MP communication scenario. And it's just a note, but we collected the reference and the terminologies and restored the primitive modules on the update from the 02 to 03. And there are no changes on content on this update. Okay, so let me clarify the position of this draft. So this draft is just complement for the current abstracted programmable modeling work. So this draft provides the capability to handle the opaque attributes and features not yet supported by Network OS as option under the opt-in schema. So this draft will not compete with the current and past abstracted modeling. So in the following two slides, we summarize the replies to feedback raised in the IETF 124, and I will explain the important three points. So first question is, who manages DCO transceiver? And the answer is the host network OS, still managing the entity for the DCO transceiver. And this draft provides just option to delegate control some limited attributes and feature to external controller in the opt-in schema. The second question is how to handle the DCO transceiver, and the answer is abstracted model is fast always, and register level only where abstracted cannot reach. But the custom pages semantics are vendor specific by definition, and it will be difficult to abstract in advance. So for such cases, this draft can be used. Third question is safeguard, and yes, this path does not go through the network OS management functions. It is by design, but it is bounded because we added a row list and write is denied by default. Lower memory writes are prohibited, and network OS can disable remote access entirely if needed. So we can prevent the unexpected operation from the controller. Okay, and I summarize the remains questions and replies. So but it's really time limited. So I will not explain in each item. So please read them, and if you have further queries or comments, please let me know on the mailing list. Okay, so next actions. So we believe that the draft is ready because we have the draft has stable YAN, 5 YAN modules, and clearly defines the use case or scope. And we addressed the feedback from the last meeting. And but I had the further feedback in this week from some implementers. For example, there are scalability concerns or more further security risks. So, and we are preparing to provide the next revision as 04, and we will publish it soon. So with that, we would like a working group to consider call for the working group adoption for this draft. Okay, that's all. Thank you very much.
So I have one comment. So please move to the page on positioning.
Okay.
Yeah, actually, in the previous page, you mentioned the two use cases, right? One is centralized control for the pluggable, and another one is for the custom pages. So, do you mean? I think actually for the first case, it should be covered by Raja's draft, right? So do you mean that your draft only covers the second use case or not?
So sorry, I reused this figure in the past presentations, right? And in the first use case, basically the abstracted model used by optical controller. So this YAN model, use of this YAN model is very should be limited. So I think it will violate the current abstraction box.
Roberto.
Hi, Roberto. Thanks, first of all, thanks for addressing all of the comment basically related to the security and the protection of the page that should not be, let's say, exposed and so on. I still have, my main doubt is still not really on the technical feasibility, but on the administration of this model. So if so I see it very good for experiments or for lab work. I don't know, and here I would like to hear the comment also from some operator, if this is something that can be set in production and an operator is maybe going to do this type of tweaking on the interface on a production network. I would like to have some comment from operators.
Thank you very much for your advice, and we will cover your feedback. And we are considering to make some examples in the for operation with this.
Somi from Nokia, right? So this is something that you and we discussed this week, but I'm kind of stating this for the wider audience, right? I kind of understand the need for some kind of, setting transparent attributes that goes and changes the CMS, without waiting for the implementation on the NOS. But the way this model and the use cases are defined, you implicitly have a dependency on the NOS implementation to actually to read the YANG and update that, right? So it's not fully transparent, right? Now, if it's dependent on an implementation, then would it make sense to kind of cover the use cases that you have in the pluggable drafts that Reza and I are working on, so that that becomes one more use case and one more, let's say, gap in what we have. That way, you have, in my view, a faster chance of completing it in a single draft rather than having two, right? I mean, if the requirement is that you need to have a capability for transparenting setting the attribute and just read and write, and those could be some of the leaves in the config and state trees of that. That's my comment.
Okay, thank you, and I hope we can continue to discuss and collaborate.
My turn. So, first of all, thanks a lot for how the slides are arranged. This is a template that we all should follow, replying to all the comments received in the past. This helps having a recap, better understanding it. Okay. So, from a chairman point of view, I have nothing against this work. If there is a support in the working group, I'm perfectly fine to progress it. As a contributor, I'm still struggling to understand why you want to standardize a mechanism to configure, customize the parameters. So, my comment is a little bit aligned with what Roberto was saying. Is this something that would go in production, or is this something that is used for an experiment? Maybe we could also consider the experimental track if this is the case.
So one of the reasons from the operator aspect, we would like to select the more cheaper or more good digital transceivers, but there are limitations on the use of the router or so we would like to relax that limitation with this YAM module.
If there is no other comment, we can move to the next presentation. I see no one in the queue.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Next is Bin. So Bin, I think it's
yes.
Yes, hi. And so today I'm going to present the new revision of the Young data model for the performance monitoring streaming on common transport equivalent with tools the companion document. This document has been changed in terms of structure. Okay, history. As you know, this work started a single document and Young data model, PM streaming at CCAMP 2 years ago almost. And just before the working group adoption poll finished, and so we got a comment from the Chinu, and he's point out this document contained some genetics PM's requirements out of scope for CCAMP. Maybe it's IPPM working groups are responsible. And so we had the online meetings, working group chair and the ADs of the CCAM and the IPPM. It was agreed that the generic part should move to the IPPM working group, while the technology specific part remain in the CCAMP now. And so we proposed segment separate into the 3 documents, divide between the CCAM and IPPM working groups, 2 for the IPPM working group, 1 for the CCAM. Okay. The original draft is the mixed 2 generics of Young data model and 1 technology specific part. And the first 2 is the generic part of PM's collection, and the interval capabilities taken out to move to the IPPM working group as 2 separate documents. The PM's parameter part remain the CCAM. Okay, the outline of these 3 documents. And the first one is the collections, the measurement for the IPPM standard track. It contained the generics core model and the parameter and the sampling and 3 collection type. Second document is about internal capabilities. It document augmented the first Young data model in the previous draft, and it make the server advertised interval capability. Third one is for the CCAM working group and PM streaming on the transport. Actually, this part, I think some standard track, not informative, because it defined some very important is the performance parameter of 3 groups. Now it's being updated in the IETF. Okay, and the first document in detail a little bit, and it addressed the 3 stage of the PM pipeline, and this draft model the collection part. It processed the raw performance data created in the sampling stages by the in-band, out-band OEM, and then the produced structured performance data over the collection interval, and delivered to the server, delivered to the client, pull or the push-based mechanism. And as you know, this draft is define the 3 types of the collections. Okay, this draft include the 3 structures of young data model, and from the profile to the parameter to the intervals. The left figure shows the hierarchical structures between the sampling interval and the connection interval for the different purposes. And so, for example, error second, NOC center, and network operation center can be monitored by the count measurement with the 1 sampling interval over the 3 different collection time for the different purpose. It showed that 1 sampling interval can be mapped into the 3 different collection interval as like as the hierarchical structure. Okay. There's the terminology, the terms, the 3 types of collections should be aligned with the works of IPPM working groups. The snapshot is, for example, correspond to the singleton, and counts and the title marks correspond to the statistic of the sum and the min max. And so as a aggregate, temporal aggregations are 1690. And also this draft is try to minimize the collection types based on the G.7710. It fixed the small and the operationally validated set, and instead of all statistics, possible statistics like average and the variance of statistics are not included in the draft. The reason is that it keeps the any side computation is light, and heavy is analytics to stay in the external system. Okay, second one is the advertising intervals to a client. It augmented IETF system capability based on RFC 9196. And then there are 3 reasons to why the discovery interval capabilities are needed, because the one single parameter can be monitored with a different several different type of sampling and collection intervals. In the cases, client should know what kind of interval capability server can support, and based on the information, a client can configure this performance parameter. And this draft also defined the metrics of the interval capabilities, unit, min, max value, and granularity. Okay, last one is for the CCAMP work, and this slide is show some applicabilities of the tools, the generating models of IPPM working group to the transport networks, and by importing the tools, the generic young data model, and it also defined there's the 3 groups of performance parameters, for example, and the first groups that can be monitored by one of the 3 collection types with 15 minutes for the maintenance. And the third ones, for example, can be monitored by only the count measurement, not for the snapshot and the tide marks. Okay, we did 24 hours for the QS, for example, and SLA compliance. Okay, This draft is also describe the whole procedures of PM streaming. And from the startings, from the discovery of interval capabilities, server can support based on the information, server subscribe the target parameters. And then after configured, and the servers stream the performance data. And then finally is the triggered report. The threshold report is triggered when the monitoring values across the threshold. The picture, yes. I'm wondering how does I would like to ask the chairs and the plan of the working group adoption. It stops, and at the last night of the working group poll deadline. And so, yeah, and comments are always welcome. Please put the GitHub link. That's all.
Yeah, Bing, so one minor comment. So to double check, so you just mentioned that this draft should not be informative. Do you mean this draft also should be a standard check?
Yeah, maybe standard.
Maybe.
No, it's actually it's based on the GDA 7710.
Yeah.
And there where defined some group of performance parameter. Here's with make a young data model to support the three group of performance parameter. This kind of parameter is actually very important to applicable to the oldest transport networks.
Okay, I agree. From my perspective, I think it should be a standard check. Yeah.
You should collect. Yeah.
When while you were presenting, I checked if you just said informative in the slides and the draft was standard check, but the draft is informational.
Yeah.
So you need to update it. Yes.
We also comment the reminder of Ketan that the liaison is ongoing. It's ITUT.
Yeah, yes. I should remind this,
Yes, there is a plan to send a liaison to the ITUT saying that IPPM is planning to adopt the first two drafts and CCAMP the third one. From a CCAMP point of view, given that the draft depends on the two others, from a process point of view, we needed to wait for the draft to be adopted in IPPM, and then we can start the adoption in CCAMP. But that's something that we can immediately after. Yeah. So we are monitoring the IPPM mailing list, but in case we miss it, once if you see that the draft is adopted, just send a ping to the CCAMP list and say the draft has been adopted. The drafts have been adopted in IPPM. Can we proceed with the CCAMP? Just in case we miss it.
Okay.
Dieter.
Yeah, Dieter Nokia. My apologies for not having followed the discussion why this work is now split across two working groups, because, I mean, you just mentioned it, Daniele, that now we have a dependency to work which is carried out by another working group. Maybe you can shed some light on the rationale for this decision to split the work across the two working groups.
So actually, this is a decision taken in conjunction between the chairs of CCAMP and IPPM and their directors of CCAMP and IPPM. There was the feeling that this work was going beyond just our domain, the transport networks. So there was the request to make it generic enough to be applicable to all the technologies, and then do the transport specific extensions in CCAMP, like it happened so many times now. So this is the rationale, and this is why we now have this dependency. At the same time, the IPPM chairs, in agreement with their director, etc., decided and promised to have a prompt adoption of the draft. So they will go directly with the adoption without having a long process of socialization with the working group, etc., etc. So they will propose for adoption immediately.
Yes, I used to make a comment about from the technology's perspective, and when I read some documents in the IPPM area related to this one, I cannot find out the exact part of the collection measurement. You know, this part I think there is a transport point of view should be very important. Because when you send all the status data to the system and external system, you should remove the unnecessary performance data. In this process, I think they did a mistake in the IPPM working group. The working group as up to now, and so that is why I moved to the IPPM working group with this draft. Let's see.
Okay, thank you. Good morning, everyone. This is Xing from CICT. I will present the integration of NMA into ACTN-based optical network. This is our third version. And since the last IETF meeting, we did several updates. And we redraw the figure 3 to show how NMA can coexist with existing ACTN functions. And we do some refinement to the enhanced CMI or MPI descriptions. And we also clarified the 3 interaction cases. And there is Appendix A ended to describe the non-normative MCP-based capability invocation example. And let's start from the figure 3. And this figure described how NMA fits into MDSC and the PNC interaction. So when we look at the interaction between MDSC and the PNC, they have extended the MPI to be the unified communication channel. And there will be logical agent-to-agent communication between the MDSC agent and the PNC agent. So in the PNC, the PNC agents can reuse existing controller functions through some internal API or through some tool invocation mechanisms. And here I list the one-to-one relationship between agent and ACTN NBI model. Like if we implement the service assurance agent, then we can invoke the ACTN SLA assurance model. And if we do the fault handling agent, then we can reuse the ACTN incident model. So that's the relationship. And in this page, we want to describe the 3 interlayer deployment cases and the interface needs for 3 cases. The first case is both the MDSC and the PNC have NMAs. So in this case, there will be the logical agent-to-agent interaction between MDSC and the PNC. So we need agent level exchanges. And the case 2 is when the upper MDSC has no NMA, but lower has NMA. So in this case, the PNC need to expose the agent capability on PNC to the upper MDSC. So in this case, we may need some agent capability exposure and some kind of interface. And the case 3 is the upper MDSC has NMA, but lower has no NMA. So in this case, the lower layer PNC actually can remain unchanged, and the MDSC NMA can just invoke the PNC by using the ACTN CMI MPI. So that's the 3 different cases. So for the 3 different cases, we provide some example implementation. They are just for illustration, but not mandatory. So for the case 1 and case 3, we may use some MCP-based capability invocation. I listed 2 patterns here. The only difference is where we put the MCP server on. We can put the MCP server in the MDSC or put the MCP server in the PNC. So they can, they both can support the MCP, the PNC capabilities for and the invocation. So the other example is for case 2. Case 2 means there is no agent on the MDSC, but PNC has agents. So in this case, we can use some interface like A2U YAML model we defined we are trying to define in MOP. So in this case, the enhanced MPI can reuse the A2U YAML model to expose PNC capabilities, and we can carry the domain-specific contents in the constraints part. So here gives an example. And okay, I think that's all for this version. And maybe next step depends on the timeline, the progress of the NMOP and NMA draft. So my question is, how's the suitable timeline for this draft in CCAMP? So should we wait for the progress of that draft, or can we move forward? So, okay, thank you.
Okay, Homie as a contributor. So basically, this work has been iterated for a few times, and I believe it's self-contained from CCAMP perspective. However, it would always be useful if we align with the generic framework, which is still unstable at this moment in IETF. So a reasonable way forward would be we can somehow agree on working on this first. And we always keeping in mind that we will watch what would be the generic framework or guidelines in the, I don't know which group or which organizer who will manage this, but we will try to keep an eye on alignment with that after maybe working group adoption.
But what do you mean with generically agree to work on this? Is there another way other than the working group adoption?
Yes.
Yes. So do you suggest to go
yeah,
for working group adoption?
Yeah, I would support as an
individual
individual first consider starting off the working group adoption. Put it in the queue would be helpful.
Putting in the queue, I don't see any, I mean, in our priority list, I don't see any issue with that. The working group adoption, I'm afraid that here, I mean, I would be more than happy to do that because, I mean, I'm one of the authors of the NMA work, but the NMA work is not something that we can reference, unfortunately. So, again, I don't see any issue in putting it in our priority list and then move forward once the NMA becomes an IETF work, because today, unfortunately, it's not an IETF work.
Yeah, my point is this work would be needed for CCAMP sooner or later. So
I don't disagree with that. We need to define sooner. Christian.
Hi, Christian Dieckhoff. When I looked at the draft, I got the impression that it is formalizing something that does not need to be like formalized because we already have that. So once like stripping away the term agent from the draft, in the end, it's like you have a request, you get a request ID, and it's a formalized process that we already have with the netconf routines and all that stuff that there is. So it's basically like we're doing the same thing we already have, just the second time with another terminology in it. So yeah, adding up the comment that I have not yet got the benefit of that draft to the existing routines that there are.
Okay, thank you. So may I ask what's work you are referring to? You mean the existing work? Is there any terminology similar to the NMA?
It's far away from NMA. It's like basically looking at the basic way we are implementing like interaction with using netconf and related protocols and based on Young models and stuff. It's basically that if you're stripping away the term agent and then look at what we already have, it's no different than a user interacting with existing infrastructure. So that was the point where I was not really able to catch the improvement that it's bringing.
Okay, thank you. I'll talk to you later. Thank you.
Okay, if you can take this discussion on the mailing list, it would be great, so that also we have the possibility to understand what is missing and what the draft is trying to cover.
Okay, sure. Thank you.
Henry.
I raised my hand. I like to comment on the previous comments because I'm one of the authors to this draft as well. ACTN, as we know, it's quite self-contained and quite mature standards. This draft is trying to complement ACTN using AI agents. What to standardize maybe is two things. First is how AI agents, right, can be used to extend ACTN functionalities, especially in the service assurance area, right, which is lacking of the functionality defined by ACTN. Secondly, equally important is how agents are managed. So if we have agents running in our system, the management side need to be standardized. Okay, this is my two comments.
Speaking as a contributor, I fully agree that the agent management is something that needs to be standardized, but I don't think that's a CCAMP thing. So I completely agree with you, but that's not something that we do in CCAMP. So if we wanted to describe that in a CCAMP document and how it applies to all the technology we deal with, that's perfectly fine. But if that's the core content of the draft, it's a little bit weak. This is a little bit the problem that I'm trying to explain. If there are other, I don't know, mechanisms, interfaces, extensions that are needed to operate transport networks using AI, this is what you should focus on in the document, in my opinion.
Yes, we are focusing on the interfaces.
Okay.
Thank you. Henry, please.
Hello, I'm Henry Yu from Huawei. I'm presenting on behalf of all the authors on a new draft that we just contributed for a Young model, defined a new Young model for SLA assurance. Sorry. Oh, okay. Motivation. What is this draft about, and why we introduce this new draft? It's about this draft is about the SLA assurance management in the optical networks. SLA assurance management concerns with the monitoring analysis and the management management of the network conditions that may impact the performance of the existing services. Okay, the objective for the assurance management is to detect potential issues proactively to prevent SLA violation. So the prevention is the key. And following that, the key concept is what's called issues. This, if we identify issues before issues become problems that violates SLA assurance, then we met the objective. So this draft defines a YAM model that provides a standardized way to define, detect, and report issues, which I will explain later the definition of what issue. Okay, so I always do not know the right or the left direction. Okay, anyhow, so use cases. So is there are use cases for this problem that we defined? We believe yes, and we listed the three typical use cases for service assurance in the optical network area. And as we know that the optical networks are indeterministic in nature, and it's very applicable to services such as like a mission critical and carrier grade services. These services need ensure a near zero interruptibility of the service delivery. So the draft is about to detect issues that may violate the interoperability of the existing mission critical services. And another two examples are deterministic latency services. So we want to identify the issues that may break the guarantee of the deterministic latency jitter and packet loss for the services such as AI distributed training, which very sensitive on the latency. And then the third category is a dynamic bandwidth allocation. So we that is mainly for the AI training workloads, services, or distributed computing, etc. So these are the use cases that the draft YAM model try to address. Okay. See. So what is an issue that we we want to define? The SLA issue is a network condition that, if not addressed in time, may lead to SLA violation. So once an issue become a problem, which is an incident, then it's too late. So basically, that's one of the key differences between issue and the incident. And there are two types of issues. One issue is symptomatic. So these issues may cause the impact to the health of services, but it's not violated the SLA yet. So that's the difference between SLA violation and the visible impact that may not violate the service. But there's another type of issues that's often seen in the optical networks, but it's more difficult to deal with, which is asymptomatic issues. So these kind of issues does not impact the service at all until another condition jump in, that such as a reroute of a service. Then you will see, oh, the latency is different than after the new work. So these are the so-called asymptomatic issues. Fortunately, the type of issues are limited, so there's not like unlimited number of issues. So this draft try to quantify the issue classification. So that another contribution this YAM model want to make is to identify the issues, all the issues that may impact the service assurance. And this is the issue management workflow. So it's basically the key here is so-called issue server. So that server basically would the objective is to generate the YAM model issue and report it back to the OSS. So the OSS, or it can be viewed as a client that consume the issues that are identified by the issue server, right? This is the first iteration of our YAM model. It basically is two parts. One is define what issue is as a data model, and another part is the remote procedure calls that defines the operations. But I noted on the slides that it's still working in progress, so we need to define more operations on the issue management. And lastly, what the next step is basically this is the first edition of the draft. So we request our community, the WG members, to review and comments and discuss and contribute. Thanks. Questions?
Daniel King. Hi, Henry. Thanks for this. It looks like a really interesting piece of work. So yeah, you might be aware that in TEAS, we've got this sort of ACT and POI applicability document and now service assurance document as well.
Right.
We have in the service assurance document, we have tried to kind of reference some of the tools and building blocks that we can use from CCAMP. Even obviously it's a TEAS document, and I've just kind of scanned through the document. I haven't read it. I guess it's 00.
Yeah, 00.
Yeah. Okay. So I'll look through that now. But I think it's if you could look through our TEAS document and see where this piece of work kind of fits in, if it's something we should reference. I mean, generally we don't like to reference anything that's not a working group document already. But if it's something that you think is an informative reference for our TEAS document, yeah, we can absolutely take it.
Perfect. Thanks for the comment, Dan. Yeah, I will look into it.
Right. Just loud thinking. I was wondering if this goes beyond the TE, because issues could have relationship with the TE or not. But I'm not aware of any work other than the work done in TEAS. So the question would be, is there any other work that has a wider scope than traffic engineering? Are you aware of it or not? Maybe Aumian knows the answer.
Yeah, I think we have two options on the table at this moment. Firstly is make it generic into TE, and that would be a larger scope than our working group. The second way, or maybe more realistic, is we can restrict, or we can not restrict, we can focus on how to deal with SRA assurance in layer 1 network, layer 0 network, so that it perfectly fits here.
I think both options are valuable.
Yep.
Pick one. Christian.
Yes. So I'm actually working on a quite similar topic, which is not regarding the incidents itself, which is more about like scheduled maintenance causing incidents and stuff. And I've been asking my question if this is really like something fitting to the focus of the CCAMP in that way, because it's more, mostly of it is an operational question. And also I see in that draft a lot of similarities, for example, from other standards that are out there, like the Amplify 175, for example, which specify very similar attributes, but in a slightly different way. So it might be worth looking at the other stuff that is already out there from like other perspectives, that we're not ending up with like in the end 3 specified ways of almost the same, but having things slightly different. That's just
right. Thanks. Yeah, for the comment.
Thank you.
Thank you. We are a little bit late. We have 17 minutes and 2 presentations to go.
Hello, everyone. This is Yanxia from China Unicom. I'm presenting OSPF-TE extensions for computing capability advertisement draft on behalf of our authors. It's a new draft. The authors are from China Unicom and BUPT. I'd like to present the motivations. First is why is computing capability information needed? Optical networks are unaware of computing capability, which may lead to the selection of AIDCs with insufficient computing resource. And it also may lead to the mismatch between the static communication bandwidth and the dynamic computing demands. So while we use OSPFTE to carry computing capability information, because GMPRS-ASUN optical networks already used in OSPFTE to distribute the TE information. So we use the type 10 opaque LSA flooding weights in the OSPF error instead of propose another protocol. If OSPFT as a distributed advertisement machine for selected AIDC matrix, it leads to two questions. The first is what kind of information should be considered? I think the information should be scoped, abstracted, and operator controlled. It's not a full computer inventory. And the selected matrix should be relevant to the service placement and path computation. So how should OSPF be extended? The authors made a minimal extension. It's the use the normal OSPF-TE flooding, avoid the changes to packet types, adjacency, and database exchange. It defines a dedicated computing capability opaque LSA for selected AIDC matrix through the top left TRVs and sub left TRVs with clear processing and validation rules. This slide introduces the scope of this work. In scope is OSPF-TE advertisement of selected AIDC computer matrix, type 10 opaque LSA and TRV sub-TRV encoding, and the distribution within an OSPF-TE protocol domain. Auto scope is how an AIDC interleavely collects the GPU memory, storage, and task-related information. And a specific path selection algorithm or orchestration policy is also auto scope. And so what our draft propose? We introduce the computing capability opaque LSA by defining a new opaque type. The opaque ID is 12. It uses the standard OSPF LSA header with the LS type 10 to flood in within the area. The payloads include 3 in top left TRV, the GPU basic information theory, the GPU performance theory, and the global computer performance theory. First is GPU basic information theory. It's describe the static or slowly changing GPU type properties. Separating the slowly changing information from the dynamic information helps reduce the possible updates. Helps reduce the unnecessary updates. The fixed field contains the AIDC ID, gateway ID, and the client-side port ID. And these fields build the computer information to the corresponding AIDC and the optical network port. The other attribute is carried in the GPU attribute sub-TRVs. The GPU attribute sub-TRV contains 4 groups. The first group is related to the hardware. It includes the GPU vendors and the GPU model. The second group is network related metrics. It includes the link layer protocol or transporter protocol. The third group is software related metrics. It includes the operating system, GPU drive version, GPU computing framework, GPU collective communication library. We welcome feedbacks on whether this matrix is appropriate to advertisement. The second top left theory is AIDC GPU performance theory. It describes dynamic GPU and associated NIC state. It includes the GPU memory capacity and bandwidth of GPU associated NIC, GPU utilization, GPU NIC state. The third top level theory is AIDC global compute performance theory. It describes the AIDC level memory storage and summaries. We looking to merge the two top level sub-theory related to the performance in the last version. Next is origination and processing. Origination can be triggered by adjacent for states, AIDC exchange, resource change, threshold crossing, parade refresh, or local policy. Receivers use normal opaque LSA flooding processing and flood accept LSA by type 10 rules. Unknown theory and sub-theory are ignored. The malformed length field are validated and located.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. You have 1 minute and we have 3 people in the queue. Maybe you wanted to take the discussion, the questions. Okay. Good. We are at the next step. Perfect.
Okay.
Just wrap up and then we can move forward with questions.
Okay. Thank
you. Okay, questions. Yeah. Perfect. So, first of all, thanks a lot for NOSPFT draft. I was missing it. I had enough of Young. Second, I'm happy to see Adrian at the mic because I was about to call him and Oscar. So I understand that this is something that is applicable to optical networks, but the type of information that you are advertising, it's something that, in my opinion, belongs to CATS. But I'm not sure CATS has the authority to define OSPF-TE extensions, which falls into TE's scope. So I would say that this is a mix of CATS and TE's, but for sure not CCAMP.
Hello, I'm Adrian Farrell. I'm one of the chairs of the CATS working group. I think you're looking at an interesting problem and you're looking at an interesting potential way of solving it. As Daniele says, you're very unlucky. You have fallen in the crack between 3 or 4 working groups because there's TES, LSR, CCAMP, CATS. I would suggest that your starting point is to go and read the CATS documents and understand their work on compute capabilities and compute metrics.
Yes.
And then see, well, how are your proposed metrics different from their proposed metrics? Should you be giving them advice about changing their metrics? Should you be learning from their work and putting that into your draft?
Okay.
And then once you have a good grasp on the metrics, the way that you are advertising them seems to be the right way. But maybe that's something that falls into TES maybe or LSR.
Okay.
Done.
Hi, Don Fedek. Just your point there, discuss whether selective metrics are appropriate for OSP FTE. I think you could look at the things that you're advertising and describe the frequency and the distribution of where they're needed to make those kinds of decisions. Because on the whole, there's a lot of things that I would say don't belong in there. And the question is, like, do some of them? Maybe. But where else could you go? Like, you're asking the question, there's OSP FTE, but what else could there be?
What else could be? I think we can discuss this question on the mailing list.
That
the
would be
use-
great. Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Hello, everyone. I'm Zheng from BUPT. After IETF 125, we substantially restructured both ONCO drafts. The boundary is not clear. We reuse ACTN for transport control and add only the compute functions needed for joint lifecycle coordination. We have 3 new authors joining us. I will begin with the main changes. The new name and use cases define a narrow scope. The rest of this presentation focuses on the other 2 changes. An ACTN-based architecture that supports centralized and distributed deployments, and explicit lifecycle workflows for both deployments. Before showing the architecture, let's first identify the gap. An compute scheduler knows the GPU availability, but not whether the optical resources are ready. And an optical controller knows network topology and available paths, but not whether compute resources are ready. What's missing is joint lifecycle coordination across 2 domains. ONCO fills this gap before traffic starts. For optical side, the ACTN already provides the transport control foundation we need. It covers service expression, abstraction, and multi-domain coordination, and transport monitoring and provisioning. ONCO retains the ACTN control structure and reuses the optical MPI and PNC as is. We focus only on the missing compute control and joint decision-making functions. So ONCO adds 3 capabilities. First, abstract compute state. Second, reserve and log compute resources. Third, select compute placement together with deterministic connectivity. These are functional extensions, not a replacement for ACTN. The next slide where maps this capability to ACTN and show the boundary and show the minimum boundary. The ASO is an enhanced CNC because it carries compute and an optical intent. The AGI is therefore an enhanced CMI. The joint optical compute orchestrator is an enhanced MDSC because it keeps ACTN's translation, abstraction, and coordination role, but coordinates compute domain in addition to optical domain. The optical MPI and PNC remain unchanged. The only new source bound branch consists of JCI and CPC. This branch exposes the compute state and control reservation, locking, and release. This mapping is clear in the centralized architecture. The ACTN hierarchy remain visible. The ASO sends the AI service intent to JOCO through AGI. JOCO translate it into demand and and obtain the optical state through MPI and computer state through JCI. Then GOCO selects endpoints and deterministic connectivity. So the service starts only after compute and optical resources are ready. The same function can also be placed closer to the edge. The GOCO only translate the AI service intent and relay the demand to local CPC. Local CPC reports the compute state through OCGW deployed at the edge of AIDC, and OCGW translate the demand into attributes that can be distributed by the optical control plane. The same distributed chain can also handle the reservation adjustment, path recovery, and resource release. Any comments on both drafts are welcome on the CCAMP. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
I'm trying to be brief, and these two works together with the previous presentation shows the signal that the CCAMP or ACTN ON people are starting evaluate its usage in the computational aware scenario. And but we are having a quite different protocol stack running compared with switches or routers. So we need better mutual understanding on each other, but this is a good starting point. We can kick off the work.
Yes, no, I agree with that. There is, I mean, while the previous document was something that was, as Ilkan said, falling into the cracks of different working groups, I see this one more optical transport and network specific. So I see no issue from that point of view. And thank you for the work in mapping the ONCO parameters, architectural components, and the CTN components. That was very clear. I mean, that's one of the feedbacks that you were asking for from the working group, and from my point of view, that was clear. Thank you.
Thank you.
Late as usual, but we made it. Thanks, everyone. See you in San Francisco. Maybe. If you're allowed to camp.